I made an agreement with my colleague about a purely physical relationship in secret from my wife. After 1.5 years, I want to stop this. I first crossed paths with my wife during high school. Our relationship spanned 3 years, but we decided to part ways in the midst of our senior year. After our breakup, I spent over a year casually dating and engaging in some flings and hookups, while also focusing on spending time with friends. However, fate brought us back together, and from then on, everything felt perfect. When I turned 21, we welcomed our first child into the world and subsequently tied the knot. The arrival of my daughter completely transformed my life. I underwent a remarkable shift from being a laid-back video game enthusiast to becoming a driven and ambitious IT professional almost overnight. I secured a fantastic job, quickly climbed the ranks, and began traveling extensively for work. At 24, we joyfully welcomed our second child. Prior to having kids, our intimate life was vibrant and satisfying, with frequent encounters occurring between 2 to 5 times per week. However, after the birth of our second child, our physical intimacy dwindled to perhaps once every couple of months, if not less. It was during this time that I formed a connection with someone I met at one of my work destinations. We found ourselves in a similar situation, both young, married with children, and experiencing a lack of physical intimacy in our relationships. Our bond began innocently enough, as it often does, but eventually we came to the realization that we still loved our spouses while also needing the fulfillment of physical intimacy. Rather than risk becoming emotionally entangled, we agreed to maintain a purely physical relationship during my visits. When I was away, we communicated as friends and colleagues, occasionally engaging in lighthearted flirtation. This arrangement provided us with an opportunity to explore certain sexual desires and experiences that we had not shared with our partners and that I had missed out on during my year of being single. This arrangement continued for approximately a year and a half, amounting to about 6 rendezvous in total. We came to the mutual decision that, despite enjoying our casual and adventurous sexual encounters, we needed to redirect our focus toward mending the intimacy in our respective sexless marriages. I was committed to this endeavor and invested my entire being into reigniting the passion in my marriage. Regrettably, my efforts did not yield the desired outcome. Despite this, I recognized the exceptional qualities of my wife and acknowledged that sacrificing a fulfilling sex life was a small price to pay for preserving our wonderful family. I also made a solemn vow to remain faithful, which I upheld. However, approximately 2 years ago, my wife discovered a video on our laptop that exposed my clandestine affair. I confessed to my transgressions, admitted my wrongdoing, and pledged to demonstrate that I was worthy of trust. She outlined certain conditions which I wholeheartedly accepted without hesitation. I distanced myself from friends, ceased engaging in video games and online conversations, limited my time on the internet, changed jobs, increased my contribution to household responsibilities, and granted her unrestricted access to my email. Essentially, I resolved to eliminate any potential distractions that could hinder the rebuilding of trust. Fast forward 2 years, and I find myself in a state of bewilderment. Despite remaining faithful for over 3 years and complying with all her demands, little has changed. Our sexual intimacy remains almost non-existent, and her lack of trust persists. While she enjoys certain liberties such as using Facebook and socializing with friends, I am restricted from doing so. Even when permitted to engage in leisure activities, it comes with stringent conditions. We underwent counseling for approximately 6 months, during which the therapist acknowledged my earnest efforts to regain trust and expressed confidence in my commitment to fidelity. However, my wife felt uneasy about sharing our personal details and believed it was unproductive. Recently, an acquaintance from high school approached me with an offer for a purely physical relationship. I declined her proposition, yet it prompted me to question how much more punishment I should endure. I have given my all in attempting to salvage our relationship and yearn for improvement. However, I refuse to spend the rest of my life apologizing and feeling emasculated. Simultaneously, I am unwilling to sacrifice my role as a father by becoming a part-time parent. Despite these challenges, my love for my wife endures. At this juncture, I am at a loss regarding the best course of action. Update: what a transformation a week can bring. Only 5 days ago, I joined Reddit, and the life I had last week is almost unrecognizable from the one I have today. After absorbing all the comments last week, I made a decision that I'm not a captive, and things need to change. I arranged to meet friends on Friday night, whom I hadn't seen in over a year, and on Thursday night, I initiated an open discussion with my wife to reestablish communication. I communicated my unmet needs and desires, emphasizing that for our relationship to thrive, changes must occur. I emphasized that we are partners, not captor and prisoner. To my relief, she received my concerns well and acknowledged the effort I've invested in myself and our relationship. It felt like a significant breakthrough. We even discussed the prospect of seeking a new therapist to give our relationship another chance. However, something kept gnawing at me. A Redditor shared a similar experience and discovered that his wife was cheating, which explained the suffocating control over his life. Although I trust my wife, this thought lingered. Why have I been under house arrest for 2 years when she's a reasonable person? After a few days, I succumbed to the persistent thought and installed a keylogger on our laptop on Thursday afternoon. On Friday, as I prepared to meet my friends, we had a brief conversation. She was hesitant but understood that this was necessary to rebuild lasting trust in our relationship. Following Reddit's advice, I refrained from excessive drinking, promptly responded to texts and calls, and returned home 20 minutes earlier than promised as a gesture of good faith. As my wife lay in bed, already half asleep, she sleepily inquired about my night out with my friends. I enthusiastically replied that it was great. The following Saturday morning, we had an extensive discussion about it. She appeared genuinely happy and understanding, and I couldn't help but beam from ear to ear. Not only did I get to spend time with my buddies, but it seemed like I was also making progress in my relationship. A win-win situation. Riding this euphoric high, I came to the realization that trust isn't built through a keylogger. It was foolish of me to install it, and it would only foster paranoia within me. It's worth mentioning that while she has full access to my email, I also have the same access to her email and Facebook. Therefore, it seemed that a keylogger was excessive. I decided to uninstall it. However, curiosity got the best of me, and I checked the very limited 2.5 days worth of logs. Nothing stood out: Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, Gmail, etc. As I reached the end of the log, everything seemed fine until I stumbled upon another visit to Gmail, this time for an account I had never seen before. Remaining calm, I remembered that I keep an old Hotmail account for spam and sign-up purposes. I had advised her to do the same and only let friends know her real email. Nevertheless, I logged into the new account. To my surprise, there was no spam or anything else. It was completely empty except for a series of empty folders. That was until I clicked on the tax information folder. This folder was far from empty. It was filled with hundreds of emails. However, none of it pertained to tax-related matters. All the emails were either to or from someone named Steve. Although I have a 65-year-old step-uncle named Steve, this was clearly not him. I had no idea who this Steve was. The emails were graphic and detailed, discussing what he liked to do to her and what she wanted to do to him. There were numerous references to how amazing last weekend had been. After reading around 30 of these emails, I realized that I needed to stop. I created a new Gmail account and forwarded all of them there before going back and covering my tracks by deleting any evidence of my actions. Throughout this process, I remained somewhat calm. It was a terrible situation, but I couldn't help but feel like I deserved it after cheating myself. While forwarding the emails, I paid closer attention to the dates. This secret liaison has been ongoing for an extensive period, stretching back to approximately a year prior to the birth of my son, or 1.5 years before my infidelity. The realization hits me like a sudden, overwhelming weight. What if my son isn't biologically mine? What if my 1-year-old baby girl isn't mine either? The thought is paralyzing. In a state of panic, I hastily ensure that my actions are untraceable and hastily leave the house, feigning a trip to the gym. Seated in my car for 2 hours, I am consumed by tears, grappling with the possibility that my children may not be my own and contemplating how to move forward from this revelation. Overwhelmed by shock and confusion, I return home to find her best friend present, both of them planning to go to a movie. Still reeling from the news, I numbly agree, desperately needing time to process the situation. After putting the children to bed, I struggled to contemplate how to broach this issue with her. I resolved to check her secret Gmail account once more. To my dismay, I discover an email she sent to her secret partner just 4 hours earlier, arranging to meet up after the movie. Checking the time, I realize that the movie is either finished or nearing its end. Frantically, I attempt to call her numerous times but receive no response. Sitting on the couch at 1 a.m., she finally returns home, surprised to see me awake, and inquires about my well-being. Suppressing my emotions, I calmly confront her about her unanswered calls, to which she offers flimsy excuses about being at a movie and then heading to a bar for a drink, forgetting to check her phone. As she attempts to ascend the stairs, I confront her with a question about Steve. Her expression turns pale as she stammers a response about an Uncle Steve, but I press further, revealing that I know about the Steve she was involved with just 20 minutes ago. Her silence speaks volumes. I disclose my discovery of her email planning to meet him after the movie, expressing my disbelief that she didn't come clean when she discovered my infidelity. We could have addressed this issue together. Overcome with emotion, she breaks down in tears and flees upstairs, with me following closely behind. What unfolds is the most agonizing 4 hours of my life. She finally confessed that she had met him while she was still working, and he was a temporary employee. I couldn't help but ask why she didn't come clean 2 years ago so that we could have worked on our relationship together. She admitted that she was too hurt by my actions and felt ashamed to come clean at the time. She claimed that she had told Steve that she wanted to end their relationship and work on our marriage. She assured me that she did try, but about 8 months later, she ended up getting involved with him again, and everything started over. When I asked her why she didn't follow the rules of fidelity, she said it was because she loved me and didn't want me to leave her. I explained that, although it wasn't right, I had cheated because we weren't intimate. However, she was having sex elsewhere, so she didn't need it at home. I questioned her about why she cheated when we used to have sex 2 to 3 times a week, and she would climax 1 to 2 times each time. She explained that Steve's relentless pursuit made her feel sexy, and the forbidden nature of their relationship added an element of excitement. When I asked if she loved him, she replied no, but enjoyed the thrill and the taboo. I had many more questions, including the big one, whether the 2 youngest kids were mine. She assured me they were, but when I pressed her on how she could be sure without a blood test, she couldn't provide a convincing answer. I felt crushed on so many levels and decided to leave. She pleaded with me to forgive her and promised to do whatever it took to fix things. However, I realized that I wasn't interested in being controlling or playing the role of a warden in our relationship. I left for a walk to clear my head. When I returned home after an hour, I found it difficult to engage with her. Sunday was incredibly awkward. I barely spoke to her. I examined my 2 youngest children closely, trying to find similarities between them and myself. Each time I thought I saw something, I was reminded that I didn't know what Steve looked like. Perhaps he has similar traits to mine, and that's where my son gets them from. We spoke briefly on Sunday night, but my heart wasn't in it. We slept separately, and I lay awake listening to her crying upstairs. It felt like a release for me. I'm unsure about what to do next. Part of me believes that we may never fully trust each other again. However, another part of me acknowledges that she could have left 2 years ago to be alone or be with Steve. She gave me another chance, and I believe I am a better person for having had that opportunity. Would it be hypocritical of me to end this because of infidelity? Doesn't she deserve a chance to prove herself and improve herself as I have? These questions linger in my mind as I contemplate our future. When I arrived home from work, I found that she had taken the kids to her parents' place for a sleepover. She kept pressing me to share my thoughts and feelings, but I remained mostly silent. I admitted to her that I was unsure of my thoughts and feelings at that moment. I knew that we needed to have a conversation, but all I wanted to do was relax on the couch with a beer and watch Futurama until I fell asleep. Eventually, she managed to coax me into opening up. I expressed my uncertainty about what to do, but suggested that at the very least, we should consider a period of separation and seek therapy if we want to work through our issues. She wasn't thrilled about the idea of separation, but I stood my ground. After being confined to our home for 2 years, I wondered if she loved me or just the idea of us. She acknowledged my perspective and admitted that some time apart might be beneficial, even though she still loved me. Update: 6 months later. Upon discovering the truth, my initial reaction was to have the kids undergo DNA testing. The following 2 weeks were a whirlwind of sleeping on the couch and engaging in countless conversations with my wife. As we delved deeper into our discussions, I couldn't help but feel like a fool. I had invested so much of myself into salvaging our relationship, only to be consumed by guilt upon realizing that she had been involved with someone else. Despite this betrayal, I found it difficult to simply walk away. She had been a significant part of my life since we were both 15 years old. We are now 29. Consequently, I agreed to commence therapy immediately, hoping that speaking with a professional would provide me with some clarity. The therapist's reaction to our situation was nothing short of astonishment. She candidly expressed that the majority of our issues stemmed from my wife's actions, emphasizing the necessity for her to undergo individual counseling alongside our couples sessions. While we attended therapy sessions, I made the decision to temporarily move out and stay with my best friend. However, I insisted on spending time with the kids at our home during the weekends. I laid down certain conditions, including cutting off all contact with the person involved and maintaining complete transparency in our communication. I also took full control of managing the household bills and budget, which she willingly complied with. I chose not to disclose that I had used a keylogger to uncover the truth, allowing her to believe that she had forgotten to log out of her secret Gmail account. While I recognized that this was an intrusive move, I justified it by the fact that I had been deceived for over 3 years. It has been approximately 4 weeks since I discovered the truth, and at last, the results of the DNA test for the kids have come back. They are all mine. The relief I felt was indescribable. It was almost as if I didn't care about my wife anymore because I knew that my kids were mine, and I would always have them. Throughout this time, one thought kept haunting me. I can accept that people make mistakes, but if she truly loved me, she had the chance to come clean about her mistake when she found out about my infidelity. Instead, she put me on lockdown for years. Who does that to someone they love? This thought consumed me. Although therapy was helping, I found myself becoming increasingly jealous and angry. I was constantly upset. I spent the week away from home, and on weekends, I would obsessively search through the laptop to find out what she had been doing in my absence. I discovered that she was checking a secret email and receiving messages from someone named Steve, although she never responded. This was the breaking point for me. She had not shut down the email as I had requested, and although she wasn't replying, she was still checking the emails. It seemed as though she was keeping her options open so she could return to him if things didn't work out with me. Or perhaps not. I wasn't sure. However, I did not want to continue living in a constant state of anger and jealousy. I did not want to be a jailer. The following day, I confronted her and expressed that I couldn't forgive what she had done. I told her that while I might be able to move past her infidelity, the way she had treated me was unacceptable. I explained how I had distanced myself from friends and isolated myself from the world in an effort to focus solely on our relationship, only to discover that I had been held captive so she could continue her affair. After the revelation of her infidelity, my wife broke down in tears, pleading with me to salvage our relationship. However, her words fell on deaf ears. The following Monday, I took the step to contact an attorney to initiate divorce proceedings. Fast forward 4.5 months, and I have established my own place, and the divorce is nearly finalized. Finally, I am starting to feel like myself again. In the midst of this transition, I am striving for 50-50 custody of our children. While adjusting to this new chapter, I have been reconnecting with friends and exploring new hobbies to occupy my time when I don't have the kids. In an attempt to support me, a couple of friends arranged double dates, hoping it would help me move forward. Although it was refreshing to meet new people, I realized that I am far from ready to trust anyone again. Part of me believes that I may postpone dating until the kids are out of high school. Despite our personal struggles, my ex-wife and I have made a conscious effort to shield our children from the turmoil. We refrain from arguing in their presence and avoid speaking negatively about each other when they are not around. It is important for us to maintain a sense of normalcy for them, even amidst our own emotional upheaval. Who do you think is right in this situation? Write about it in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers together. Love you.